Curiously enough, the story you just heard proclaimed of the transfiguration of Jesus on the mountain is in all four of the Gospels. It's one of the few stories about Jesus that's in all four of the Gospels. But Luke, only this Gospel account tonight tells us why Jesus went to the mountain. He went there to pray. He went there to pray, Luke tells us. And while he prayed, his face changed in appearance. Prayer is one of the pillars of Lent in our tradition. Tonight is not so much a homily, like you might be accustomed to hearing homilies spoken from the pulpit, because they can sometimes be more teaching than not. Tonight, rather, is a little bit more like a personal testimony about prayer, about myself as a prayer, about why I take prayer so seriously and how I struggle with prayer. I take prayer seriously because Jesus did. One thing we know about Jesus was that we know he prayed, and he prayed hard. He prayed when he had to make difficult decisions. He prayed when he was down and out and discouraged. He prayed when he was facing severe opposition. He prayed when he was scared to death, literally. He prayed when he was moved. And he prayed when he was grateful. One thing we know about Jesus is that he prayed. And all the scriptures tell us again and again and again, Jesus went away to pray. He could have never done what he did had he not been a serious prayer. My struggles with prayer are many. One is that I never seem to quite fit myself into the prayer styles of so many other people. What seemed to work for them didn't seem to work for me a lot of the time. I'm an extrovert. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. But I would see these other people get to these intense and focused places and block out so many distractions. But my mind's more like this sort of monkey mind, jumping from thing to thing. And so a lot of other people's prayer styles didn't really seem to fit me very well. The bottom line for me about prayer is that prayer is union with God. Union with God. Period. End of sentence. And what I'm learning and what I've learned is that it doesn't matter how you get there. But that's what it's about. Union with God. It doesn't matter if you use words or you are wordless. It doesn't matter if you come to chapel to pray or you do it out in a field or in the inner city. It doesn't matter if you walk when you pray, or you kneel, or you stand, or you prostrate yourself on the ground. It doesn't matter if you're saying novenas, or rosaries, or yoga stations of the cross. The bottom line is that when I pray, I am consciously, explicitly, intentionally making myself available to union with God. Granted, there are time-honored ways. And one of my favorite is to come into here in chapel at night. This chapel's open 24 hours a day for students. They can get in here any time. And it's really neat at the end of the day, as I walk through, to come in here and just be in the dark with the night. And to be in the silence with the silence. And just have as an only light that little flickering sanctuary lamp just there above the tabernacle. and with the sacramental presence of Jesus. Another one of my favorites is to go to a little corner of my room I have set up upstairs and to kneel there and to just hold in my hands a crucifix. For some reason, the tangibleness of that, of holding a crucifix in my hand, becomes a very powerful way for me to pray, or maybe just a lit candle. It doesn't matter what you do, what I do. What matters is that we're there for that union with God. Another struggle I have with prayer is a lot of times I felt like talking about God or thinking about God or even reading about God was the same as praying, as talking to God. And I found out that it wasn't, and sometimes I came to that a very difficult way. Any more than if I talk about you, or think about you, or even read about you, that I'm really meeting you. I found that I got to use the vocative, I got to say you. I got to talk to God. If I don't talk to you, nothing's going to happen in this relationship, really, if I just think about you. Sometimes I struggle in the tension between communal prayer and personal, private prayer. I know it's become very popular for people to identify themselves as spiritual and not religious, and by that I think they mean they have a prayer life of their own, but they don't do this, like what we're doing tonight. And sometimes for the rest of us, we do this, what we're doing tonight, this communal prayer, but we don't have much of a personal, private prayer life outside of this. And I just find that both are extremely, extremely important. This isn't enough for me. Not if I want to take my spiritual life to the next level. This won't be enough. There's also the question I face almost each time I pray, and that is this prayer time valuable enough? I mean, there's so many valuable things I could do with my time. I'm always behind in emails. I'm always behind in appointments with students who would like to spend time, and I haven't gotten back to them yet. And so is this valuable enough to be here praying explicitly with God in the night when maybe I could get in one of those extra appointments that are also extremely valuable? And I guess what I came to for that for me is that if this friendship matters, and it is a friendship, if it really matters to me, and if it's with this one who is indeed my highest power, with this one who is my strength and my source, then it's valuable enough to do. Just like, I need to be with my friends no matter how busy I get. And I need to honor those friendships in my life by making time for them, no matter how many things are waiting to be done. And if I don't make time for those friends, I'll get very, very sick. And I think I'd get even sicker were it not for this time in that fundamental friendship that is with God. But there's two struggles that are maybe even bigger for me. One is I worry. I'm a worrier too, in case you haven't noticed. I worry that praying is very self-serving. That I pray too much to feel better myself, to quell my own anxiety, to restore my own balance, to recoup some of my spent energies so I can do it right, do it better tomorrow. And it's certainly true that it does restore balance much of the time and give me a sort of a peacefulness. And it is true that I get a lot out of it. And it's also true that when I'm with my friends, I get a lot out of it too. But if friendship for me is just about what I get out of it, I've learned it's not friendship. And if I'm not with my friends in ways that make demands on my life and leave me more vulnerable afterwards than before, then I'm not really meeting them. I'm just meeting what I get from them and stay in it because of what I get from them. And there's going to be times in this praying when I don't get much out of it. And there's time with my friends where I don't walk home thinking that was awesome. But that doesn't mean it wasn't worth doing. It wasn't worth my time. It didn't deepen something or express something that was good and true and valuable and even beautiful. And maybe I won't get something out of it, but I'll be there with my friend, with my God, because of who God is. Because of who God is. And instead of meeting in prayer only what I get out of it, but instead learning how to meet this other who is different from me. But maybe it's important to hang in there when I don't get as much out of it as I used to, as I did once, with my God or my friends. Ever. And when that meeting really happens with this other, I find my difficulties, my emotions are sort of relativized, if you will. I have my suffering and it's real. And now it stands alongside the suffering of what's happening in Haiti and the suffering in Chile tonight and the suffering of anybody. And I keep learning that my emotions matter, but they don't need to matter more than somebody else's emotions do, too. But then there's the biggest one. The biggest because it's the most consternating. And it's mine, maybe yours. I ran what I was going to share tonight through one of my friends who's also a priest. I said, "Do you ever struggle with this?" And he looked at me and he said, "No." Oh, well. But it's a struggle where I'm sitting there in the dark sometimes and I just wonder if this is really stupid. Is there anybody there? Are my words just falling into nothingness? Is there another here now that I can count on? Or not? Is there a God that's here that doesn't leave this word, thank you, like this puny little word that doesn't matter when it's spoken out there into the night? I don't know, sometimes I can stand under the night sky and feel so awesomely connected. Other times I feel like nothing under that array of stars. It's that same array of stars God pointed to for Abraham in the first reading when he said, "Look up there, Abraham, look at those stars. With all that and more, I love you." The struggle has led to an enormous opportunity for me to make the choice to trust. To trust. Just like in friendship, I can't always be assured my friend cares about me, that they're there for me, that they'll be there for me tomorrow or the next day or when it comes my turn to die or suffer. I have to trust that, you know? When two young people stand up here and pledge their life for the rest of their lives, they have to trust that this person standing next to them means that, and they're not going to leave when it gets hard. I mean, so much of life comes down to trust. Why wouldn't my relationship with this holy other one, who is God, this triune and infinite God? Your struggle's probably different than mine, just like my friend's was. Your favorite ways of praying might not be my favorite way of praying. What do I do when I pray? Oh, it changes a little bit here and there, but usually what it is I sort of acknowledge the presence of God and my desire to be with God now. And I do it with 3 simple sentences that I learned from the Franciscans. Oh my God, you are here. Oh my God, I am here. Oh my God, we are here. And then there, in that place, I pay attention to the stuff of my life, the stuff of the world. And I shake it up a little bit, and I turn it over, and I look for what God might be saying to me in those things. What's happening in the world, what's happening in me. I just try to listen in that stuff to where God might be leading me. Why do I keep on praying when it's not always easy? And as a matter of fact, it's pretty much of a struggle sometimes. I do keep on praying. I mentioned one reason already, and that's because I take it seriously because Jesus did. That's sort of a given. But I also know when it gets hard that doesn't mean it's not worth it. You know, I was listening to 2 of my friends yesterday give a talk on marriage. They've been married about 7 or 8 years, and it was so tender to hear how hard it gets sometimes. And on any given day, maybe even for a while, there's not a lot of paybacks, you know. But they've tasted it once. They knew what it was like to have the connection. They felt love. They felt those conversations on their tongue when something happened that was just amazing in their conversation and in their holding. And so they know they can have that again. And so they keep going. They keep trying, even when it's hard for a long time. I've tasted God. I've felt God. I've known that oneness that is God. And while on any given day it might be so elusive, I want it again more than I want anything in the world. And I know I'll know it again if I keep seeking and making myself available to it, no matter what. And it's true. And when I'm there like that, I get this sense of this kingdom. What the world would be like if we were really in right relationship with each other and we cared about everybody, even the least among us. And this thing was working, this world. And taking it and tasting it and touching it and smelling it, the smell of the kingdom of God, makes me want to go from that prayer time and do what I can to build that in this world. Because I felt it again there, that night, in this place or upstairs or wherever. The transfigured me, the transfigured world beckons me to pray. And I hope every once in a while, far too seldom I fear, but I hope every once in a while you can see it in my face.